Here are some parents talking about their experience of living with the condition and their child being treated with the Ponseti method.
When I first found out that Thomas and William had club feet, you know, I was scared, as any parent would be, worried about what this could mean to their long-term future. But within a few days of you know, doing a little bit of research, talking to a few people, the consultant that discovered it through the scan, we felt a lot more reassured there would be a positive outcome.
It was a big shock. I think I just wanted to have a baby that would be normal and active, and I did fear that he would be permanently disabled.
Yeah, we found out at the 20-week scan when we went to the doctors, and that Murad was affected with clubfoot. It was quite worrying initially, and obviously it took us about a week to sink in, and started looking for treatments that needed to be carried out for this to get corrected.
I first found out about the Ponseti method on the internet. Initially, my consultant didn't even know about the Ponseti method of treatment. He just said that Lewis would probably need surgery. I didn't want to take this as the only option, so I took it on myself to go online, go onto the Steps website, talk with other parents, and through research on the internet, that's when I found out about Ponseti.
Before Anthony was born, we were fearful for how we would react to seeing him with club feet. But immediately after he was born, we were just delighted with our lovely new baby.
The hardest part was probably following the application of a new plaster, because it can make them a little bit grouchy for about the 24 hours afterwards. Maybe the sleep's a little bit more disturbed, almost like they're a bit colicky, but that soon settles down, and by the time that, you know, by a couple of days in, you know, they've forgotten all about the new plaster and they're fine.
I think it's really important to not to wish your time away and always be looking ahead to the next stage of treatment. You really need to enjoy your baby, and they'll be having the treatment, but you know, they're still a baby, and they're still, you know, it's not going to be the end of the world. It's really, you know, quite positive, and I think the joy of having a baby should really overcome a minor difficulty about having the club feet.
I want to reassure parents that their child would not miss out on any course of development during the upbringing and during the course of this treatment. As we have seen with our child, they walk at the same time as others, they would start crawling at the same time as others. So it's like any other normal child. This is just a treatment which is being carried out at the same time as their normal development.
Well, even though my brother had club feet, I still thought of him as a normal child, and most of my family did as well. I still played with him, we had fun together, and it didn't really get in the way of anything, so that was good.
Living with the condition hasn't been particularly hard. There's just been a number of minor nuisances, such as the practicalities of high chairs and having baths while the plaster casts are on.
The hardest part of the condition for me would be when people would stare at Lewis, especially when he was in his plaster cast, because they would look accusingly at me as if I'd thrown him down the stairs or something. In Boots and Bar the situation's a little bit better because they can obviously see that he's being treated, but initially that was probably the hardest part, being very protective over him as well.
The tenotomy wasn't a big problem really. We treated it pretty much like a normal casting. They'd been having casts every week. The main problem really was that they had to be starved for a few hours. They weren't allowed to have any feeds between 9 o'clock in the morning and then 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and they were getting pretty hungry. But they, you know, we survived. A lot of finger sucking, a lot of walking around and cuddles, and they weren't too bad. And the actual tenotomy was really quick. They were back with me and screaming within 20 minutes.
My one piece of advice would be to make sure that the treatment is followed exactly as described by Dr. Ponseti.
The hardest part of treatment would be when Lewis first went into his Boots and Bar from cast. In the cast, although he wasn't able to bend his knees, in Boots and Bar he can, but it was really hard. He cried a lot, and I did a lot of crying as well, so we cried together, but the important thing is to persevere, don't give up. It only lasts 2 or 3 days, work through it, and I mean, he's absolutely fine now, so just make sure you persevere.
What seemed at the beginning, for me, absolutely an insurmountable issue to deal with, both practically and emotionally, you do just get accustomed to it with time, definitely. And when I first came to this hospital, I was a very confident looking woman walking around with a baby, and I thought, God, look at her, and I was just a gibbering wreck. And within 3 or 4 weeks, I was that confident person, I hope anyway, feeling quite okay about it, knowing what to expect. So if you just give it time, it does get to a situation where you can just deal with it quite happily. Yeah.
Was living with a baby with their legs fully plastered as bad as you thought?
No. Once you get used to it, changing nappies is a bit fiddly to start with, and you have to adapt your clothing and your bedding, and get the clump on the leg with the plaster cast and things. But no, it's no problem at all. The babies adapt to it better than we do. So.
I hope you found that interesting. If you're able, you will find it incredibly supportive to speak with other parents who are going through this experience.